Geneva. Joining me today, we have State Senator Steve Nass, State Treasurer Matt Adamczyk, and UW System President Ray Cross. Today we're announcing our proposal to create the largest state-sponsored scholarship in state history. We're calling it the Wisconsin Merit Scholarship, and when fully implemented, we believe it will provide over $5 million in scholarships for 1,000 Wisconsin students. Each scholarship will be worth $5,000 and will be available to Wisconsin residents only. We felt $5,000 would have a significant impact on each individual that earns the scholarship. The exact details of how the scholarships will be awarded will be left up to the UW system to create and implement. The only other state-sponsored scholarship available is the Wisconsin Excellence Scholarship, which is only about $2,100 a year and is awarded typically to the top graduate from each high school. This scholarship will be over double that. The funding for the scholarship will come from the normal school fund at the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands under our proposal, the BCPL. And for more details on that, I'm going to hand it over to State Treasurer Matt Adamczyk, who is one of the commissioners at the BCPL. Matt?
Well, good morning. I'd like to thank Representative August and Senator Nass for authoring this bill in the legislature. I plan to lead the effort to get it passed on the BCPL board so that we can create millions of dollars of scholarships to be created from the sale of these lands. As a BCPL commissioner, I have a fiduciary duty to get the most money for our beneficiaries, in this case the UW system. The selling of this land accomplishes that goal. We sell all 75,000 acres to the DNR using stewardship dollars, thus helping to fulfill that constitutional mission to sell all of the land. The money that we acquire will be put into a UW trust, and it will eventually reach about $100 million. That principal will be there forever, as it is constitutionally protected for the UW system. The fund will earn the BCPL about approximately $5 million per year that will be used for these merit scholarships that we're talking about today. To compare that to current law, the BCPL currently only gives out about $300,000 per year to the UW system. That is simply too low. By selling all this land to the stewardship, the BCPL will be able to give the UW system 15 times as much money as currently, $5 million versus $300,000. At this point, I'll turn it over to Senator Nass to talk about the specifics of the merit scholarships.
Thank you for attending today. It's great to work with my colleagues and President Cross on this very important issue. The Wisconsin Merit Scholarship actually is the state's largest, it will be the state's largest scholarship program going forward. It's significant. There's only one other one right now that's under HEHAB, and that is half funded by general purpose revenue dollars and half by the institution. The key thing here, and this is something I've long wanted to do, is to help everyone, whether low income, middle income, high income. Your family income does not matter. It's going to be based on merit, your SAT, ACT scores, and if necessary, your GPA. And that is important because there are dollars available for the low income, middle class, pretty much, quite frankly, get shortchanged, and this is going to do a lot to help that. And in addition to that, it's going to help everybody, low income, high income, middle income, depending on your test scores. What happens right now, and where we've heard for so many years since I've been elected, is that we're the brain drain. We're losing students to other states, to other campuses, and that brain drain does continue. The other campuses actually will purchase the lists of ACT and SAT scores and then try to come into the Wisconsin and other states and cherry pick our brightest and best students, and we all know what happens when that occurs. Those students go to another school and they don't come back in most cases. And the other schools that do the cherry picking, they don't care about their family's income. They want the brightest and the best to attend their college. And that is what has happened. I think this will give us an opportunity, the state of Wisconsin, to get into the game. In the end, as has been mentioned, it'll be about, over time, about 1,000 scholarships, $5,000 each. And state of Wisconsin in future years may want to actually add to that. I know System has been interested in this particular aspect of merit-based, so I think we're doing just a great thing going forward. Again, we haven't done enough for the merit-based, the smartest, the brightest, and the best, and this goes a long way to accomplishing that. I think it's exciting, certainly significant. I think it's got the potential to be a turning point, a game changer for the state of Wisconsin in keeping our brightest and our best. Let me turn it over to President Cross. Welcome.
Thank you, Senator. Thanks, Ron. I'm really excited about this. This is amazing. I want to thank Representative Tyler and Treasurer Matt Adamczyk and Senator Nass for supporting this, and I'm going to encourage all legislators to do the same. This is creative. This is really creative. We didn't think of this. I wish we had. You folks did, and I think this is wonderful. Why is this so wonderful? We are competing today with other states who are offering full rides to the best and brightest from our state, and we're losing too many of those, as Senator Nass pointed out earlier. We're losing too many of them, and this is a way for us to attempt to keep them and retain them, and that's why this is so creative, and it's really translating a fixed asset that's not liquid into something that is, in my opinion, translating real estate capital into human capital the state badly needs in a manner that allows us to retain them, and it's really impressive. And I wish I could express to you how thoughtfully this was done and carefully it was analyzed. It's quite complicated and yet quite simple, and my compliments to all of you. It's a brilliant way to do this. My final encouragement here is that this is a way to address affordability for those kinds of students that we really want to keep. There are obviously multiple ways to address affordability. Time to degree is perhaps the biggest, but providing financial support to those students that we want to retain, the best and the brightest, is perhaps the easiest way, and that's what this bill does. And I hope it secures ample support in both chambers to be passed. I think it's brilliant, and I want to compliment you and express my appreciation for the work you've done to pull that together. So I hope everyone votes for it. Thank you very much.
If you guys want to join me here, we'd be happy to take a few questions if anybody has any.
Yep. How much interest would you pay on the stewardship bonds over the life of the bonds?
We're still working those numbers, but it would be consistent with the current stewardship bonding authority.
The $300,000 that currently goes to UW, what is that money used for?
There's $100,000 for the Nelson Institute, $100,000 for UW Stevens Point,
The extensions program, and then about $100,000 for the UW Stevens Point. So
and $100,000 to the
extension
extensions.
Stevens Point in Madison.
I mean, you talked about going from 300 up to 5 million, and how much of a jump that is.
Yeah.
What do we net out though once we subtract the interest on the bonds? Because we're not netting all that 4.7 million at all.
The fund would net it. The stewardship, they're separate funds. So most of this bonding is already authorized stewardship. It takes about $10 million a year for 8 years, which currently stewardship is authorized like $34 million a year. So this just uses $10 million of that 34. So that the numbers, and we're still working, and we can get those to you when we have them to extrapolate that out. But for the fund itself, the fund doesn't eat up any of the normal school fund wouldn't eat any of the interest.
You mentioned where the $300,000 currently goes. Would this take away that $300,000 or be in addition to?
Under the bill, we leave those programs in place at the $300,000 at their normal. I believe the Stevens Point, the last time Stevens Point got their share, and the treasurer can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the fund had done a little better that year, so they got $200,000.
It was the first time it had been over $100,000, so we left them whole and left it at $200,000, which is more than they've received pretty much anytime going back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll keep them whole at 200,000.
So we,
So it'll be almost 400,000.
yeah.
Treasurer, a damn check. If, once all of the land is sold, what responsibilities does BCPL still then have?
Well, an important duty. We're mostly a trust fund now. We are called the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands, but we started with 3 million acres. So we went from 3 million to about 70,000, and most of the land is gone. We've sold 98% of it. What is our main duty, and people know us for, are what we provide to the Common School Fund. What we're talking about today deals with a fund called the Normal School Fund, which is actually, let's just call it the UW Fund. And most of the land is held under that fund. So this will sell it all in one swoop, and then from there, we will just be a trust fund. We will continue to do the loans and make money for the K-12 schools, as well as in this case for the UW system.
Do you
So
see
the
that
board's
as a,
responsibility will simply be to manage the trust fund then?
Correct.
Okay.
But one of the problems, and speaking off your question that you had in regards that you had to Representative August, is the land is not easily sold how we sell it right now. We have a constitutional imperative to do the appraisal first. So if we need to sell, let's say, a $30,000 parcel, we'd have to spend $1,000 or $2,000. So that it's an impediment, and it can't get done for that reason. We're going to keep it. It's going to be moved on over to the DNR. It'll be under stewardship, so it'll stay there. Keep it open for hunting, fishing, all that stuff. I think it's a win for everybody.
Very good.
are you happy to see, you want to see BCPL pull out of the public lands business, right? I mean, you feel like that'd be more efficient to get them out of that altogether, right?
Well, whether it's my opinion or it's what we're charged with doing, the Constitution explicitly says to sell all the land. 2004, so going back 13 years, commission was done by the Speaker's Council on Forestry. So that brought all the stakeholders in northern Wisconsin. It was charged by Don Frisky, was the leader of that board. And they came up with they said specifically, divest of the land. There's no reason that the DNR and the BCPL are doing this. BCPL has about 70,000 acres. DNR has 1.5 million. It makes more sense for the DNR to manage the land. So there shouldn't be two agencies doing it.
Your release says the majority of this land is up north. Can you tell us explicitly where the remainder of the land is?
It is, you would say, it's all in northern Wisconsin. I'd say
Northern
most,
Wisconsin meaning north of 29, north of 8?
not all of the land. If you look on the website, it has acreage, but I would say that we have a consolidation zone, which is literally the northern, from basically Lang Lake County north, so very much so northern Wisconsin. To give you an example, most of our holdings, I think 80% of our holdings are in like 3 counties, Oneida, Forest, and Marinette. So when I say up north, we're talking way up north.
On the scholarships, there's been some concern this spring when it came to the tuition cut that could potentially be giving financial aid or help affording college to people who might not necessarily need it. Do you have any concern that a merit scholarship, because it doesn't take need into account, could be giving money to someone who's well off when that money might not go to someone who has more financial?
I think that's the beauty of the scholarship, is that it's merit-based. When we're trying to give the UW tools to keep the best and brightest here in the state, which they and President Cross could speak to this more eloquently than I, but they don't have a whole lot of tools to compete with other schools in the Big Ten or even schools in the Ivy League as far as keeping students here. And so I think that keeping this available for everyone, regardless of their parents' income level, is really important, because we can really get the best students in the state to try and stay here. And to the brain drain issue, the stats show that once we get students invested in going to school at a UW school, that they're far more likely to stay here in Wisconsin after graduation, and that's really what we're trying to do here.
Could I just underscore that?
Sure.
On merit, we're simply losing our brightest and our best. I don't have a concern as far as the low income being harmed. The money is still going to be there. In fact, with federal money, it gets into the billions of dollars. So when we're looking at merit-based, those students that moms and dads have said, study hard, stay in school, do your darndest, do your best, and then they get out and find out they get a better offer at Ohio State or some other institution, and they leave and they don't come back. So that's why I think this is critically important to get this in place, keep those brightest and best. Those who are low income are still going to get help like they always have been for many, many, many years. So I think this will put us on a good footing going forward to keep our brightest and best based on merit.
Right, and this is, just real quickly to build on that, it's important to remember that this is new money. This is a brand new scholarship. We're not taking money out of previously allocated GPR to the UW system or any other scholarship. This is all brand new money, so this is just adding to what we already do to help students stay here in Wisconsin.
President Cross, would you be in favor of when the Board of Regents sets up this scholarship, ensuring that it's distributed among all of the universities and that 90% of the 1,000 scholarships that would be offered aren't going just to Madison?
I'm committed to making sure the best and brightest get it and how we keep those, because we're competing with other Big Ten schools who in fact offer almost a completely free ride, some of them do, to the best and brightest. Those students are leaving the state, and this whole issue is about retaining the best and brightest. Yes, I hope it will be distributed, but it's not the single factor in this process.
Are these lands right now giving money to the Common School Fund, to K-12 schools that they would not get, or is this all going to the university right now?
No, there's two separate funds. So you've got the K-12 fund, and that's also the revolving loan fund that municipalities use to get low interest loans. We don't basically touch that fund at all. I think there's about 6,000 acres that are still in that fund, so the proceeds from those 6,000 would just go into that fund. But the normal school fund, there's about $26 million in there right now, and that's a completely separate fund from K-12. So this
normal Baltimore cities, like.
Correct. Yeah, about 70,000, and then it's just a little over 70,000, and the K-12 fund.
And I've been told that the more choice lands are in the normal school. Some of the ones that are left over in the common school, the kids fund, is less valuable lands. But both funds will ultimately benefit. But for argument's points today, we're focusing on the normal school fund, which will help the UW.
Which will get by far the lion's share of the revenue from the sale, because they have 70,000 versus 6,000 acres.
Is there any mechanism in place for this to increase over time, like reflect inflation or tuition increases?
We thought about that. We decided to keep it at $5,000 in statute for now, but there's certainly, as times change and we see exactly how the program's working, there's nothing that would stop a future legislature from saying, the UW system has come to us and said that 5,000 really isn't enough anymore, and adjusting those numbers. But it'll still just be off the interest made on the principal. The principal won't be touched at all ever under this plan. And that's another important part that I really want to emphasize is once this is completely done and there's $100 million plus in that fund, this scholarship can go on forever. Long after we're all gone, there will still be students benefiting from the action that we're attempting to take with this bill.
Yes, as Senator Nass mentioned earlier, he and I have discussed along with Mike, how can we become more competitive with other states by retaining? How do we increase our merit scholarship? I would hope that in the future the university would be able to add to this in other ways, not just the state. And we don't know, but we're hopeful that's the case.
Do you have any figures on how many high school students are leaving the state for other Big Ten schools?
I don't know if the UW has that, right?
I don't know precisely, and it probably changes from year to year, but I do know that if you are a National Merit Scholar or a National Merit semifinalist, for instance, Nebraska provides a full ride plus $2,000 a year for a National Merit Scholar. And when we're competing for those students, that is an incredible attractive thing to hold in front of a student and their parents. I also know of anecdotally of students, I think Senator Nass mentioned Ohio State, quickly making phone calls to our students and offering them what I would consider really attractive packages. And how do we compete with those students? And or those other institutions, that's our goal, to keep those students here. And I think this is a really creative way to do that.
Well, and I know that I believe the JFC Media Avail is going to start pretty soon, so I don't want to make folks late for that. So appreciate everyone being here today. If you have follow-up questions, please feel free to contact my office, and we'll be happy to get back to you. So thanks for being here today. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, appreciate it. This is aggregated. More go to Madison.
Well, if we're gonna post that one, do you want the